And I'll be creating a Google Drive, and I'll be adding all this recorded sessions, like whatever I've been doing over there as well. So let me start with the first topic for today. So like today, like we'll be starting with the day one of our the course curriculum or the agenda, like what we have. So today I'll comprehensively cover all of this item. And from tomorrow onwards, our practical session, or like we go to BTP system, then we create a sub account in BTP, how to create a sub account and how to subscribe for IAG. Then what are all the list of different things within IAG, like we have it, and how to create all that is what like we'll be covering in tomorrow's session. So basically, like we'll be covering day one and day two in this week, and that's the plan, like what I have actually. So it's going to be a bit of a theory for next 2.5 hours, or approximately like 2 hours. So if at all like you get any doubts or any queries, like please do stop me there itself, then and there, so that like I'll make sure like I'll answer all of that, and we will proceed. And let me share my screen again, and let me start with the first topic. So the first topic is, of course, on what is it, what is this IAG is all about, and then like why we need IAG, and then what are all the different steps like which we can do it in IAG, and architecture, how it all works and all. So let me just start with a very quick introduction of IAG, and I will keep it in a way like I'll try to answer all of this question. So then it becomes pretty clear, and we will be covering all these topics like when we discuss on IAG. So I'll just start with like IAG, and in IAG, like we are going to study so why we need IAG. So that is the first and the foremost thing like which we will be studying. So why IAG? And then like the next thing is what IAG can do. And of course, when we are speaking with what IAG can do, then we will also speak about what IAG can't do. And once we understand what IAG can do and what IAG can't do, the next thing like what we'll be also seeing is like how IAG is developed, so that like we understand a bit of complete architectural factors of IAG, and of course like where IAG can fit in with SAP GRC, AC to be more specific, and then how the authorization concept in this particular IAG system is developed or it is built, and what is the sophisticated authorization metrics and all that in case of IAG, which we need to be aware. Finally, of course, on the wider IAM module, and within IAM module, like where and all IAG fit in and all that is what we are going to discuss. So we will start with the first and the foremost topic. So why we need IAG. So to understand like why we need IAG, so we need to make sure like we understand the importance of an intelligent enterprise. So Sarvesh, like I'm from a security background, like why I want to know about the intelligent enterprise on understanding the importance of an intelligent enterprise. So we are living in 21st century, and if we see the amount of transformations every software company is undergoing, especially the product which is undergoing, whatever the Office 365, what we have, what we are seeing now after OpenAI being extensively used, Copilot being extensively used. Microsoft is coming up almost with a 15 days once upgrade, where we are getting lots and lots of features using OpenAI or Microsoft Copilot or Office 365. And the same Office, whatever we are using, is not similar to that of what we have in 2019, what we are used in 2016, 2013, 2010, 2007 Office, and now if you see almost like 500 times the complete component of Office 365 or of Microsoft Office got changed. The same thing is also true in Windows. The same thing is also true in Apple. Like every year when Apple introduces a new functionality in the phone, there is a new functionality which was never there in the past, and the complete re-engineering or restructuring has been happening. Unfortunately, SAP, if you see like the very big leap which happened, or the first main stroke happened in 1993 when SAP NetWeaver was introduced, and this SAP NetWeaver, sorry, like R3 was introduced, and that's a very big transformation, which SAP started more being used across the systems. And 2003 is the time frame where SAP NetWeaver Suite was introduced. And after that, ECC or Enterprise Core Component, Web AS or Web Application Service. So there are lots of transformation started happening in that space. After that, till 2013 or 2014, no major thing was happening because of SAP's lack in competing with the other product-based company. And the important thing happened. That's the reason like SAP was looking to acquire or started acquiring companies, and they understood the importance of a cloud application. Until unless you host an application in cloud, or until unless you host an application in a framework where upgradation can be done in a quarterly basis rather than an yearly basis, or rather asking customer to do an upgrade, which eventually will have lots of requirements, lots of dependencies. It is better if we not allow customers to upgrade and we take care of upgrade, so that we can keep including more and more feature, and we can compete with the other players who is there in the market. It can be either Salesforce, it can be either Workday, it can be either Oracle, it can be either Microsoft Dynamics. So to compete with other players on the similar line of business, it is very important to have this strategy in place. So that's the reason SAP also started in this war of cloud, and they started since they are purely known for on-premise application or for ERP application. So to compete with the cloud, the easiest way to do is by using or by following the model of acquisition. And they started the first acquisition. They started the first acquisition journey from a company called as Sybase. So they acquired Sybase. Sybase was basically like a database company, but at the same time, they're also like a company which has been primarily into mobile computing or mobile technology. And slowly and gradually, the things started taking place in Sybase Unwired platform, and then all that was happening. At the same time, Microsoft started introducing a new operating system called as Windows 8. And the beauty of Windows 8 is that is an operating system which can work in Windows. That is an operating system which can work in computers. It can work in mobile. It can also work in tablet. So one single operating system for three different frameworks, or three different hardware. Only one single software was sufficient. And the same to promote that more and more, Microsoft made this framework global in nature, and meaning like they have made it as an open source, and every company started evolving or adopting that more and more. And SAP also created their own library inside it, and they created their version of SAP UI 5 by incorporating or by taking Microsoft HTML5 as a reference. So all this led to the journey of Sybase Unwired platform. And again, they continued to start acquiring more and more companies. They acquired SuccessFactors, then they acquired Ariba, then they acquired Field Glass, then they acquired Signovia. They acquired lots and lots and lots of companies. Some of them are very big success, like Concur. Concur is a till today. Concur is the biggest acquisition of SAP, $8 billion. They acquired Concur. There are many failures in this acquisition. Also, one of the classical example of failure of acquisition is Qualtrics, which they acquired and then they sold that company. So now Qualtrics is no more an SAP company. So end of the day, if we see all of this acquisition, one common thing like what we will be seeing is all of these acquisitions are on cloud. And all these applications which are being acquired by SAP, one strategical decision or one strategical model which has been followed by SAP in all of these applications, all of these applications are cloud-based application. So that's one important strategy which SAP followed. And eventually, they also started building up their internal competencies to develop on cloud. And they introduced this in their first version of SAP S/4HANA on cloud in 5009. And SAP 5009 is also developed and it can also be working in cloud. At the same time, like there was an on-premise application of S/4HANA also came, but S/4HANA cloud also started coming. And SAP on cloud comes on a quarterly release, whereas SAP on-premise comes on an yearly release. And this upgradation happens every 3 months once. So if you see, as I was just specifying, one common thing is like SAP's strategy or SAP's momentum is more towards cloud. And in each and every narration of SAP, whether it can be in TechEd, whether it can be in their announcing their Q3 result, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 results when they speak about the revenue. So the key point what they always specify is cloud adoption. And naturally and gradually, SAP sales team, SAP marketing team, and SAP internal team, they started selling or they started promoting more cloud offering for their existing on-premise application customers as well through some discounts, promotions, whatnot. So all this led to eventually customers also started using or customer SAP forces SAP customers to use cloud applications. But the biggest challenge, like what we have in all of these applications, is all of this application don't sit or they don't have a unified platform. And all of these applications follow their own development strategy and development framework to do it or to run these applications. So, and to overcome this challenge or to overcome this barrier, SAP was identifying a potential platform or a potential methodology to bring all this into one single umbrella. And again, this also started way back in 2016. First, they introduced a concept called as HCP or HANA Cloud Platform. And then they rebranded or they renamed it into SCP or SAP Cloud Platform. And in 2019, they structured everything and they introduced multiple frameworks and technologies, tools and processes. And they introduced a platform called as BTP. BTP will be one single unified platform or the placeholder where all the SAP cloud applications are going to follow the strategies or follow the methodology either to integrate or to develop or to customize or to host. So that will be an entry point or that will be an entry ticket for all the things, whatever which is going to happen in cloud. It will be done or it will be carried out in BTP. Sarvesh, then I have a question like you say SAP Cloud, every applications will be on BTP. So do you mean to say SuccessFactors is on BTP, Ariba is on BTP? The answer is no. SuccessFactors is not there in BTP, Ariba is not there in BTP, Concur is not there in BTP, Fieldglass is not there in BTP. Because all these products are acquired and all these products are been developed or all these products are been maintained by different teams, and all these products came way before BTP came. So maybe in the future we may expect, or we may have a situation where all of this product will also follow one common unified platforms. But that is a very long vision, like how we have ECC to S/4HANA transformation. This transformation also may take a couple of years, or the way SAP works, couple of decades to have this in place. But what I mean to say, the unified platform is like any products which comes after 2019, or any acquisitions what SAP will make after, or had made after 2019. If you see one common formula or one common methodology what SAP has been using, though they acquire a product or a company, they try to fit in that particular product, or they try to fit in that particular thing inside BTP. One classical example, it can be Signovia, where in 2021 SAP acquired Signovia, but still it follows more or less the methodology of a BTP only. The same thing also goes to a company called as AppGear, and the AppGear is actually like a company which was been acquired, or which was been a non-SAP company. And in 2021, when they acquired SAP AppGear, they worked, or they restructured the entire AppGear framework so that it fits into BTP. And now that same product, what SAP AppGear was, now the product is rebranded as SAP Built with all the BTP logics inside it. So this is one common formula what SAP is adopting after, like in recent days, especially like after the acquisition or after the incorporation of BTP framework. So now, Sarvesh, all this is fine, but what you're trying to say? What I'm trying to say in simple words is, even SAP, whatever they do, whether they acquire a product or whether they build a product, anything going forward is gonna be on BTP when it comes to cloud. Any cloud offering of SAP, it's gonna come only via BTP, and any existing systems also, slowly and gradually, their next versions is going to be on BTP. Sarvesh, all this is fine. So what does this matter to me? I am from a security background. I am from an SAP access control background. I am from GSA background. Why I should be bothered about this? Because like how we use SAP security, or SAP CUA, Central User Administration, or we use SAP access control to carry out the access provisioning, meaning if I want to create a user in 100 systems in one shot, or if I want to manage users in 100 system from one single unified system, like we always rely on SAP access control, or we rely on SAP CUA, Central User Administration. The same way, if I want to manage any provisioning of any user, if I want to manage any roles assignment of a user, if I want to manage the risk uh, prevention or the risk mitigation for any user, then all that should also happen in BTP, or all that should also happen eventually in BTP. And for that, SAP has introduced a tool, a unified tool, where you can do two things. You can manage your on-premise application so that the existing investment, whatever you have made, will still be supportive, and it will also work on cloud application. So basically, SAP has developed a tool which will support your identity management. So I'm using a word carefully. I'm not saying user management. I'm using a word called as identity management, and I will tell you the reason in next few minutes why I am using identity management instead of user management. So if you want to manage the identity of any users, or if we want to do any identity management in BTP, that is possible, or that is viable only through a tool, and that tool has an advantage of carrying out user management, role management, risk management, and emergency or firefighter management for both for on-premise application and for cloud application. So that is what we call it as IAG. So it is for both for on-premise and for cloud application. Of course, on-premise application, there are few things which we need to be aware that it should be with the latest NetWeaver, and then cloud applications also, like there are a few cloud applications which have been supported at this point of time. Not all cloud applications are supported. I would just say like SAP cloud application to make it more clear. So because for sure SAP is cloud application, like whether it is Sybase, whether it is SuccessFactor, whether it is Ariba, whether it is Concur, whether it is Fieldglass, whether it is S4H on cloud, or whether it is on SAP marketing, whether it can be Signovia, all these applications are slowly and gradually provisioning of everything will happen through IAG. So this is why we need IAG. In simple words, GRC access control or GRC CUA, Central User Administration, or SAP security is a tool, or it's a framework which has been developed in a language or in a programming model called as ABAP. And ABAP at this point of time is not equipped, or ABAP is not been developed to handle cloud applicational model, or cloud applicational programming or totally different. And ABAP is basically SAP's proprietary programming model. So that way GRC will not be able to use, or SAP security will not be able to use, or SAP CUA will not be able to provision a cloud application, because provisioning of a cloud application requires a unified programming model, which is something which has been used across all the companies, or something which has been supported across all the companies. And ABAP programming model is basically SAP's proprietary programming model, or SAP's home-built programming model. And this is something which can't do that activity. So that's the reason SAP has developed an application in BTP called as SAP IAG. And this IAG is built on a framework called as Cloud Foundry, which supports multiple programming model, so that we have an option, or we have a advantage of carrying out provisioning for any systems which has been developed or which has been maintained by SAP. So that is why we need IAG. And in summary, IAG is basically a cloud replacement of SAP Access Control, or I would say like it's a supplement of uh, cloud version of access control. So that is why we need IAG. Now, like I would like to take a pause, and I would like to ask, do anyone has any questions on any of this, what we have discussed so far?
Yeah, IAG is the replacement of GRC, or we need to have both in our environment as of now?
As of now, IAG is not a replacement of GRC, and I don't believe, at least for next 10 years, IAG will be a replacement of GRC. So that way, like both is going to exist together. When if you and if you have GRC already in place, I mean to say GRC, if you have access control already in place, then like I'm going to describe it when access control is already there in GRC. I mean, like when access control is already there in your system, how you can use IAG with access control shortly. But to answer your question in one single word, IAG is not a replacement of GRC. GRC has much more functionality which IAG can't do. IAG has much more functionality which GRC can't do. So it's not a direct replacement. IAG is exclusively used if you want to carry out any provisioning in cloud. GRC is a tool which you will use if you want to carry out any provisioning in on-premise system. But IAG also has a capability to do provisioning in on-premise system also. So it's like two different products meant for two different use cases, sir.
Sarvesh, one question here.
Please.
So now I have a customer.
Mhm.
So SAP has forced them to use. I mean, they have compelled them to use IAG instead of GRC.
Got it.
So it's a new company. So I mean, it got splitted from a parent company, and they are, I mean, moving towards cloud, I guess. Okay.
Mhm.
Then they had an option to choose between GRC because they have an on-prem ECC system.
Mhm.
So now they have started, I mean, working towards implementing IAG. So
Mhm.
now, as you say, it's not a direct replacement of GRC. So, I mean, would there be any impact from the customer side for this?
So so to answer your question, probably like I may need a few more clarification or clarity. So whether the customer is using any cloud offerings of SAP, like whether they are
As
using
of,
Spectre,
yeah, as of now, no. But they are mostly now working towards implementing IAG on for their on-prem ECC systems.
okay. So the one biggest challenge what they may encounter is it's like IAG, I mean like GRC is like um, I'm just trying to get a good example. So it's like GRC is like ocean where it's like GRC is like more of the people who are using GRC is like more fish in ocean where they have hell a lot of options, like they can do lots of customizations. The MSMP functionality within GRC access control is awesome, where they can do lots of customizations over there also. Whereas in case of an IAG is more like a lake, or it is more like a pond where you don't have multiple options over there and you need to live with the standard. At this point of time, IAG supports only four different stages, and only those things are to be used, and you can't customize, or you can't write programming, or you can't do even a small thing in IAG. It requires some good amount of research and good amount of reaching out to SAP, waiting SAP to reply back, and so on, because the product is still in the getting into the matured state. So that way the customer is going to have a problem if they already know if they already tested the fruit of customization in their GRC system from their parent company, or when they are with parent company. Then that's going to be a bit problem for them if they are living close to standard. Like if they wish that they don't want to have big customization, I don't want some 10 level of approvals, I don't want detour path, I don't want my table, Z table, through which my approve determination should happen. If all those is not an ask from the customer, then IAG will be very straightforward for them, so that they can maintain it. Since it's a small company, they can maintain it even with two people through this.
Right, right, right. So majorly customization and the functionalities which GRC offers.
Yep.
Got it. Got
Yes.
it. Got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Great.
Okay, Sarvesh, apart from MSMP, what other activities can perform in GRC where in IAG not possible now?
So apart from like I'm been
MSMP you already highlighted, yes.
yes sir. So now I want to take a question like. You want me to answer as a SAP pre-sales guy, or you want me to answer like a trainer?
The reason
So
why I'm
based
asking
on
is
that,
this one is because SAP is highlighting, some point of time it's a replacement for a GRC.
no, sir, that is not at all true.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah,
I want to, what other, highlight. It's not required
yeah,
to go in detail.
got it.
Just highlight
So,
what other features is available in GRC where it is not possible in the IAG.
yes, so absolutely. And in fact, like I have written a blog in LinkedIn. Probably I can share that blog detail also. I've written a blog in LinkedIn called as SWOT
Yeah, you
analysis
can share
of
it here in
SAP.
the
Yeah,
chat.
yes. So like in WhatsApp group, like I'll make sure like I'll provide the link, sir. So
Okay,
the
can.
blog is all about SWOT analysis of IAG. So in that I would have highlighted in many places where IAG is a best fit and where IAG is not a best fit. And to answer your question directly, what is possible? What is the five thing or four thing, Sarvesh, which you tell it is there in GRC and it is not there in IAG. I'll be telling that point right away. Before that, to clarify or to this is like one common question almost every customer user to ask, and every consultant who I work with, they ask the question that Sarvesh, is IAG the replacement of GRC? So the answer is 100% no. The reason why I'm saying the answer is 100% no is because there is a next version of GRC which is going to come, which is called as GRC for HANA, which is going to get released in 2026. There is already SAP note, or there is already an SAP article that that already tells that that there is already a new version of GRC is going to come. So when SAP is saying that they indicate that it is they indicate that this is not something which is going to get replaced in very sooner. So that way, IAG is never a replacement of GRC. So that you can be rest assured, and you can tell the same thing to the customer also. And what functionalities in GRC which does not exist in IAG as of today is MSMP. And the next important thing is in terms of the customization. Like in GRC, you can create your own notifications, custom notifications. That is something which is not possible in IAG. You need to live with this standard notification, and it's very difficult to even to do a small notification change. You need to be aware of JSON, you need to be aware of HTML, all those things if you want to do a small notification change also in IAG. And the concept of the concept of how we have this within GRC, like we can do like LPD cust or Fiori Launchpad Designer. So where we can define our own user specific tiles and groups. So in IAG, we already have a roles, and we can't amend any of those roles. And that way, like if you want to make your own tile look like standard tile or a custom tile. So mainly like in terms of LPD cust or in terms of Fiori Launchpad, those functionalities are lagging. And that's it. All I would say, like if you're close, if your GRC is very close to vanilla, then IAG also has all the features to do that. But if you are extensively customized GRC, then that will nowhere match with IAG. So that's how I can put the statement, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, great. So now okay, Sarvesh. So this is good. Now, like why IAG, we got to know that in simple words, what you are basically trying to say is the way SAP is structuring their tool, they are forcing or they are asking customers to move towards cloud. And we require a tool which can understand both on-premise and cloud provisioning. And that's the reason like we have IAG at this point of time. So now, Sarvesh, tell me what and all IAG can do. So if I want to go and speak with a customer, so imagine like I'm sitting in front of a customer for a demo or for a discussion, where customer is asking some 10 different questions. So now I want to answer those questions. So just help me. What are all the list of things IAG can do at this point of time? And when we have a software, there are few things which it can't do also. So just tell us like what are all the list of things which it can't do. So always like we will start with something which can be done, and which can't be done, like we will discuss it in next section. So now what IAG can do. So IAG can do all the things what a pure play access control vanilla implementation can do. I can put that word like if you are using access control the way SAP has delivered with default BC set activation, with default rule set, with default risk library, with default workflow, with default BRF plus configuration, with default fields, with default WebDynpro components, with default applications, then IAG can almost do everything what access control or typical access control systems can do. So an example is, okay, so what typically an access control application can do. All of us are aware or most of us are aware, basically, I don't need an access control system if I can handle my user management without considering risk factor into it. Meaning, the only reason access control is required is I want to add the risk analysis flavor to my SAP security component. So the only difference why we need access control is like I have an user management in SU01. And when I do a user management in SU01, based on the knowledge of SAP security consultant, they will assign the roles which are not conflicting with each other. But there can be a issue when an external auditor comes and audits a system, telling that these two roles should not be assigned to a same person because it is causing it's causing like segregation of duties, or it is not as per the SOX principle. So if that component is being added, like we get the best benefit of access control, and that's where the most selling point of access control is all about adding that risk analysis feature, where you are educating a tool to do a risk analysis automatically by comparing what is good and what is not bad, which has been defined as something called as rule set. And comparing that particular rule set, you are trying to compare in runtime what the user has done or what the user has to do with the roles. So you are just comparing the roles what you want to assign to the user versus the best practice content which is already there, which we call it as a rule set. Based on that, you categorize it into 4 different sections within access control. So that the first section is what we call it as ARA, or access risk analysis, where you can do a risk analysis for a user. And to do a risk analysis for a user, you need to develop a rule set. A rule set is nothing but identifying the mutually conflicting functions, which gives rise to a risk. So the same way, IAG also has the capability. IAG has something called as access analysis service. And now onwards, I will be using some keywords. May not be useful for this particular session because I am trying to get an introduction to this session, but I'm carefully using those terminologies because we are not discussing SAP GRC access control, or we are not discussing SAP's on-premise application. So we are speaking about a cloud application. So in cloud application, we should always carefully use those words, which is not available or which is not applicable for an on-premise application. One thing I was just telling is about this identity management. Again, like I'm going to come to the topic when I come over here. But here I'm saying, like in GRC, what we have is access analysis. And in IAG, what we have is access analysis as a service. So ARA as a service is also available in IAG. The way how you can create a function, the way how you can create a risk, the way how you can create a rule set in GRC, you also have an option to do the same thing in IAG also. In addition to that, GRC at this point of time has only SuccessFactors integration out of box for a cloud application to do a risk analysis. Whereas in case of an IAG, I can do a risk analysis for my cloud applications, number one. Number two, I can also do a risk analysis for a cross-system applications as well. What does this mean, Sarvesh? So you are just confusing now. I understand this particular point, like, okay, so it can do a risk analysis for a cloud application. So this is pretty clear that this is risk analysis for cloud application. So what do you mean by this cross system risk analysis? So now I have a user. I have a user who is basically, I would call it as purchasing manager. Purchase manager is basically the job designated for that particular user. Sarvesh is basically the purchase manager of a company. So if Sarvesh is a purchase manager of a particular company, then what are all the systems and consider like I'm basically like $1 billion or a $10 billion company, And I run my company SAP like a factory model, where like anything and everything, whatever it exists in SAP, it also exists in my company. So then what would happen is I will be using Ariba because I am the sourcing manager. Since I'm a purchasing manager, I will also be having access to Ariba, where I can go ahead and I can source things. And I need to approve my shopping cart from my purchasing team and so on. So definitely I need access to Ariba system. And I'm a purchase manager, so I should also participate in the release strategy, which happens in my S4 HANA system or in my ECC system. So definitely I need access to my on-premise ECC system as well. And I'm an employee end of the day, because I also get a leave request. I need to also post a job if I want to hire someone and all that. So then I need to also have access to my success factor system, where I can handle all the HR. Then I also have a contract pool where people are working on contract basis for me. So all their timesheet applications, everything happens through Fieldglass, and I need to also have access to Fieldglass application. Then I'm also like I travel a lot. And so now, like, if I want to travel a lot, then I will have lots and lots of my travel ticket booking. I want to submit my expense, and all that will also be there. So where I'll be using, or I'll be having access to Concur system as well. So totally, I need to have access to 6 systems. And I have 6 different systems with 6 different roles, or combination or culmination of all the six different roles. Sitting in one place, I want to do a risk analysis of all of the 6 systems, which is not at all possible in SAP GRC access control. And that is what we call it as cross system risk analysis, or cross application risk analysis, which is not possible at this point of time in GRC access control. So RF for cross system is also something which is possible in IAG. So this is one very biggest selling point, or very important point, which you need to tell whenever you are marketing, or when you are speaking about IAG. IAG has an option to do a cross system cloud application. Cloud application also, it can do a risk analysis. At the same time, it can also do a cross system risk analysis. So when I tell something which is very good and which is very fantastic, one important thing which what I will not also hide is the lack, or the thing which needs to be told. So here, like, I'm like, though I go and sell IAG as a pre-sales guy for many companies, I also, like, now I don't want to be that particular, or I don't want to be in that particular role. So I'm being a trainer, and I would like to be a trainer in this particular session. So that way, though IAG can do a cross-system risk analysis, all this, most of the time SAP does not provide a rule set for any of this application. SAP has rule set only for Ariba and for SuccessFactor at this point of time, and those rule sets are also not vast, like how we have our S4 HANA rule set. And at this point of time, I'm telling only 2 cloud applications has the rule set, that is Ariba and SuccessFactor. There is no standard out of box rule set for Concur. There is no standard out of box rule set for Fieldglass. There is no out of box rule set for SAP Analytics on Cloud or any applications. You tell, apart from these 2 cloud applications, there is no rule set, and you need to prepare, or you need to have this rule set, which is going to take extensive amount of time, if at all your customer would like to build a rule set for those applications. So whenever you are putting a project, you need to consider these parameters also. If you see any systems apart from Ariba and SuccessFactor coming onto your SOW document, then you need to consider that if at all customer asks for a risk analysis for those applications, then you need to have an extensive meeting with those applicational team, where you need to create a rule set, or you need to prepare a rule set, and you should be sharing those rule set or uploading those rule sets in the IAG system. Uploading the rule set in IAG system is very quick and straightforward. You can do it in less than 5 minutes. But building that rule set is very difficult, because we all from SAP security background or from GRC background, and the way we know things is all about authorization, group authorization level, and a transaction, and so on. Whereas all this cloud applications works on the concept of permission rule, permission group. Then if we go to SuccessFactor, there's something called as RBP. If you go to Concur, there is something called as identity. And if we go to Ariba, there is something different way of groups based user management. All those will make things bit complicated, and you need to match those with whatever the standards which we have it in IAG. So that way, that is one gray area. When you are proposing this cross-system risk analysis application for cross-system risk analysis, so you should be a bit cautious, and you need to consider those extra time as well, where you would require to carry out the risk analysis. So the next functionality which is possible in
Sarvesh, I have a query here.
please.
Yeah. So you are saying risk analysis for cross system is applicable, right? So
Correct.
how about the performance? So how does the performance impacts here?
Awesome question. This is like a fantastic question. This is one thing which I would really like to explain in practical also. But since you have asked this question, sir, all this application, IAG does not support real-time risk analysis. I will put that. IAG does not support real-time risk analysis. All the risk analysis results, whatever you are seeing, are from a scheduled job. That way, significantly, there is no performance improvement, because you are going to find the time on which the system is not being extensively used, the connectors not being extensively used. So that way, you will not see any much performance impact, because IAG never carries out real-time risk analysis. All the risk analysis of IAG is done only via jobs.
Okay, so correct me if my understanding is wrong here. Okay,
Please.
so one IAG request has been submitted to get some access.
Correct.
Okay, so here you are saying that provisioning will be happen directly, and later on risk analysis will be performed.
No. When provisioning is okay, so let me take an example. So if Sarvesh is actually a user who need to go and access. Sarvesh is a user, and for Sarvesh, the 3 system access has been created: SuccessFactor, Ariba, and Concur. Like now, for this 3 system access, I have created an access request in IAG. And when I do access request in IAG, there is one stage where I have enabled the risk analysis, and in that stage, the risk analysis will happen. And when the risk analysis is happening, it will not go and carry out this risk analysis in the connector system. So it will carry out the risk analysis based on the job results, whatever I have got it in my IAG system itself.
Okay.
So in case of GRC, we have something called as real-time risk analysis, where when you go and trigger a access request, and when you go and say risk analysis as yes, and when you have activated one of the profile parameter called as real-time risk analysis.
Risk analysis, yeah.
And once you do it, your risk analysis will happen based on the user's existing role in the connector system with respect to the role set what you have in GRC system. Unfortunately, that does not happen that way in IAG. All the user information also, which is based on the repository sync information, will be there in IAG. It will compare that with the new roles which will be requested, and based on that, the results will be shown. In summary, IAG does not do a real-time risk analysis. It just do the risk analysis both for access risk analysis as well for access request management. The risk analysis is always based on the jobs, whatever the job previously ran. If you have ran job 1 year before, it will compare only 1 year before thing only. But that's the reason, that's the importance of synchronization job, or the scheduling the synchronization job, which on what frequency and when you need to schedule. That is something which I'll be covering in day 3. But to put it, the synchronization job, you should schedule such a way that the risk analysis is always happening near real time. So that way you should not do synchronization job once in a week, or all that how we do it in GRC. So that way we should not do it in IAG.
Okay.
You are with me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. So that's the way typically things works in IAG. So meaning real-time risk analysis is not possible not only in ARA, but also in ARM. So when you are doing an access request, when you are creating a user, when you are carrying out a provisioning also, at that point of time, when you are telling risk analysis, it does not go and carry out in the connector system. Rather, it will happen based on the job information, what you have it here. And there is a very big confusion in access control with IAG integration or using IAG as a bridge. In that case, how it works, Sarvesh? I will take up that question very shortly in day 4 or day 5. When I'm discussing about ARA, I'll be speaking about this. I have an extensive document which I'll be sharing with all of you, which tells how exactly the risk analysis will happen when we have IAG bridge scenario, where I'm creating an IAG user. I'm creating a user in my cloud application via my GRC, and where exactly the risk analysis will happen and how exactly the risk analysis will happen. So that is also something which I'll be telling in the upcoming days. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next thing which is possible is BRM, and through BRM only the cross system risk analysis is possible, because if I want to create one request for multiple systems, then I should have one role, because through one role only the approval process can happen. And to facilitate all that, IAG has been provided with business role, and the business role BRM functionality what we have in GRC. In IAG it is called as role designer, and again role designer as a service. So through this particular service only the entire role designing activities will happen in IAG. And third thing is we have in GRC we have ARM, access request management. The same thing here also, like we have access request. So in simple words, access request is nothing but if I want to go ahead and create a user, I need a form, and that form is nothing but the access request form. And this is something which is also possible in GRC. So the same functionality is also possible. It's also possible in IAG as well. So the last thing is firefighter, or we call it as EAM, emergency access management. In IAG, we call it as PAM, or privilege access management. And again, there are lots of confusions on this PAM, privilege access management. So at this point of time, you can't do a firefighter activity for SuccessFactors, or you can't do a firefighter activity for Ariba or Fieldglass or Concur, or not in near future. Those functionalities are going to come. At this point of time, PAM exactly behaves like EAM only, or emergency access management only, where it allows firefighter for SAP specific application, or SAP ABAP specific applications, or SAP NetWeaver / S4 Foundation specific application, meaning they are supported only for S4HANA on premise, and S4HANA on cloud is in the beta version. So only those two systems are supported at this point of time. If we want to carry out, or if the customer says like, I have implemented privilege access management, can I do a privilege access management for SuccessFactors, and all my logs, firefighter logs will get generated, and I will be able to carry out the review and so on? So the answer is no. So that is something which is not possible. So this is in terms of the privilege access management. In addition to that, there are some small features like we have UAR functionality in IAG, in GRC, access control. Even in IAG, we have that functionality, and that is called as access certification services. Access certification service is nothing but like the same way, like how I can carry out a periodic review, which I can do it in GRC. So the same way I can do it in UAR as well. So more or less, these are all the services which we are going to discuss extensively in our upcoming days, how it is possible in IAG and how it is all happened in IAG and so on. And this will provide the comprehensive details of each and everything like we are going to cover. And in many cases, for example, in this case, we will see IAG bridge scenario. In this case, we will see IAG bridge scenario. And in this case also, we will be seeing IAG bridge scenario. So for all of this, we will be also seeing IAG bridge, meaning we will not only carry out this activity in IAG system, from our on-premise GRC system also, we will be carrying out this entire activity. So that way we get the holistic picture of using both versions of it. And that's the reason I said, or I am always meaning as a service in all these items. So IAG can be leveraged, or IAG can be used in two different ways when it comes to any activity, whatever like we carried out. So the first thing is IAG can be used as an application. So we can allow end users to log in into the system and to carry out the activity. So that is one way, like, or I can call it as IAG usage. There are two ways you can use an IAG system. So you can use IAG system as an application, meaning you can log in into an IAG system via your BTP and via your IDP. Sarvesh, you're introducing new terminologies. So don't worry, like I'll be covering all of those. I'm just trying to use those words so that we get familiarized with these words. So IAG usage can be done where I can log in into my IAG system and I can carry out an activity. So that is one way. Second thing is, without logging into an IAG system also, I can carry out the activity, and that is through service. So IAG system can be logged in and it can be carried out also. For example, using IAG, like how we have GRC, NWBC, and or GRC Fiori Launchpad against which we can go and carry out an activity. Like that also we can use IAG system, or we can use IAG as a service. Like if we have IAG bridge license, for example, we no need to allow any end users to go and create an access request in IAG. They can just go and create an access request as usual, like how they are creating it in GRC system. IAG will be behind the scene. No one will have access to IAG system, but IAG system will be used to carry out all of these activities. So that is what IAG as a service. And this is not only applicable in IAG. Any cloud offering of BTP, it always have two flavors in it. One flavor is an applicational flavor and one more flavor is a service flavor, because all of these applications end of the day is a cloud application, and any cloud application, it also comes as a part of service. So it is not only a software, but it is also software as a service. So you can use as an application, or you can use an application itself as a service as well. So that is applicable in all of this. This is one great feature what IAG has at this point of time. Any doubts on this particular point before we get into the other sections?
Yeah,
How about-
one small clarification, Suresh.
Please, sir.
You said we can also do on-premises applications
Correct.
with risk analysis. Can
Correct.
it be also for EC systems or is only for us for HANA?
If the ECC system is more than 7.52 or NetWeaver 7.5 innovation package is more than 7.52, even in your ECC system also you can do risk analysis. So your ECC system should be more than 7.52 or innovation. It should be more than innovation package level. So
Okay,
if that's the case, we can definitely do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sarvesh. Okay, along with UAR, there are other workflows also, right? Like SOD and all.
So they are not
Those
supported, sir.
SOD is not supported. Okay.
No, IAG has only UAR. We can't do SOD in IAG.
Okay. Any other workflows that supports?
Like in PAM, we have in PAM, you have two different types of workflows, right? Super user access and firefighter log reviews. So those things are indirectly covered in PAM. Access control is already covered. Business role approval process is there in GRC, right? Somewhat very similar to that. We also have it over here. So I would say, like, apart from SOD, almost all workflows which is there in access control, it directly or indirectly is also there in IAG.
Okay.
Yeah. But in a different name. Yeah, it's like all all SAP products are like old wine in a new bottle. So
Okay.
that's how I call it actually. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Sarvesh, I have another query here.
Good, good, sir,
Yeah.
please.
Sarvesh, in GRC, we do have a concept called dashboards and reports and
Correct.
analytics. So
Correct.
in the same way, do we have anything on IAG side just to monitor?
Yes, 100%. We have extensive, like we have one session exclusively. I'll be speaking only about reports, sir. We do have some good amount of reports in IAG. I want to compare this with not with reports on analytics, because that won't be a fair comparison. So in GRC 12.2, like we have something called as OVPs, or overview page concept.
Okay.
So in access control, we have this overview page. You might be knowing this overview pages. So the same concept is also there in IAG. So all the OVPs, what you see in access control 12.0, you have the same flavor even in IAG. But if we want to get the dashboard and all, where previously like we used to use Adobe and Adobe Flash, and now like it is on UI5, those kind of dashboards, you don't have it in IAG, but you can create your own dashboard, because all of this data are underlying in Cloud Foundry. You can just create your own SAP Analytics on cloud stories, and then get those Cloud Foundry data over there. So through that, like you can still create your own dashboard, but that is not something delivered out of box.
So it's again, it's like a customization.
Yes, correct.
Data is readily available, but it has to tweak and project.
You need to, you don't have a front end layer to show that data.
Okay.
Right. So great. So the next thing is in terms of okay, any other questions from anyone before we proceed? Okay, great. So what IAG can't do? So first and foremost thing, this is one customer always ask this, or like most of the time people always ask this, is like PSS, password self-service concept, like what we have in GRC, access control. Password self-service does not exist in IAG. So I can't use password self-service functionality. So that is something which is not available in IAG, unfortunately. So we can't use that particular functionality in IAG. So the next thing what is not available is SOD. That is something which is extensively available in GRC access control. We don't have that. The third thing is, of course, the very famous feature of GRC MSMP, where I can define multiple stages and multiple paths for my workflows. I don't have that functionality in GRC. Sorry, in IAG. These are all the things which does exist in GRC, which does not exist in IAG, and there are n number of reasons for that. Because IAG is not a right place to reset your password in cloud. So that's the reason they have not added that functionality over here. The ideal place to reset that is either the AD, Active Directory, or the right place to do that is IAM, Identity Authentication Management, or the right place where they can do that is in their IDP, Identity Provider. What is all this? Tomorrow session, like I'll be extensively speaking about all this. So that's a fair thing, I would say. Password self-service may not be needed in IAG, because IAG is like a side system. There are other systems also which complements IAG, and all this you will get to know when I'm discussing about the architectural factors of IAG. So there you will get all these questions answered. SOD, if you ask me, like if you run UR, you don't need SOD. If you run SOD, you don't need UR. That's a fair thing. And SOD generates huge amount of data. And because of the factor that IAG only has offline risk analysis data any which ways, so that way SOD becomes meaningless to happen, because it does not provide anything real time. So that way, like it is not that useful. So the third thing is in terms of MSMP. Of course, like IAG does not have MSMP, but it has this restricted amount of stages. You have 4 stages: manager stage, role owner stage, security stage, and risk owner stage. Only these 4 stages only you can do. You can't build your own stages or your own path. You can just crisscross this paths or the stages, but always there is only 4 stages. Okay, so these are all the things which is not possible in IAG. Next. how IAG is developed. So
Sarvesh, I have a question here.
yes, please.
Okay, 4 stages are compulsory stages, or
Not,
we
no,
can...
sir. You can also have auto path, sir. The auto approve stage is also there. So you don't need all those 4 stages are not mandatory. You can
Okay.
have only manager only stage. You can have only role and security owner stage. So that depends on how you define your business rules, which is nothing but our equivalent of MSMP in IAG. So
Okay.
there I will be showing it. But to answer your question, all those 4 stages are not mandatory. And even you can have with no stage also through auto approve process.
Okay, how about HR triggers works here?
HR trigger works exactly very similar to that of how it works in GRC. But in GRC, we have this HR driven HR triggers happens through two way. One is through PA30 operation and another through success factor. Here in IAG, it does through RBP. So meaning it supports at this point of time only in success factors and only when you have employee central license, you can activate that particular functionality.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So how IAG is developed? IAG is developed by using the framework of Cloud Foundry. So what is this Cloud Foundry service? So basically, like we need a framework or we need a platform or we need a tool through which we can develop an application. So like how we had ABAP, and yesterday was supposed to be a 40th year anniversary of ABAP. So ABAP is like somewhere in 1983. The same day, 27th of October, was ABAP first reporting, which started evolving. So yesterday we celebrated 40th year and 40th year anniversary for ABAP. And that ABAP has been used extensively in all the SAP applications, on-premise applications or SAP homegrown applications. Whatever the homegrown application of SAP, you will see ABAP always over there. But ABAP is again a proprietary language of SAP, where most of the things in ABAP goes back to C language, C++ language, and Java language. More of everything in on-premise world, it can work and it can do wonders. And all this is fantastic about ABAP. But when it comes to cloud, ABAP is an application which has not been created or which has not been developed for a cloud application or to handle cloud applications. So that's the reason SAP has taken another approach of CAP, and it is called as Cloud Applicational Programming Model, where extensively it uses JavaScripts, extensively it uses Angular, extensively it uses Node, and all of those different programming models, which is primarily developed for cloud applications. So that is what the Cloud Foundry supports, and IAG is developed in Cloud Foundry. Sarvesh, why I want to know this? I am a functional consultant. I am not bothered about this. The only reason why I am telling this, why you need to know is, if at all customer says like, can I do some customization over here? If we say answer, then it's gone, because it's not that easy to do a customization in a cloud application, because it's been used in many different places, and we even like the ABAP developers who might be enrolled in this project, they will not have access to. It is very difficult to find a cloud applicational programming person in SAP, because it's relatively new topic, and many people are also in the process of journey in the process of learning in their journey. So all this forces not to do much amount of customization in IAG. So the immediate answer for any customer question, can this be customized? The answer is no. However, if you have some big money in the project, like a customer is saying, I'm okay to pay $5 million. So why don't you do it? Yes, absolutely, it is possible. Like it, I am saying it is possible. I'm saying it is not possible. No, I'm saying it is possible, but it is difficult. So based on the project timelines, what you might have been agreed, like you have 90 days to complete a work, then you should not say yes to customization. But if you have 180 days or 200 days to work, and definitely like, why not? We can also learn in the journey and we can also do it. So that way, IAG is developed on Cloud Foundry through CAP or Cloud Applicational Programming Model, not through SAP ABAP proprietary model, because of which the people who can do this customization are not often available in market. So you should be a bit cautious and careful when you are telling anything related to customization. Service that and all is okay. Can I at least add a custom field in IAG? Is it that difficult to even add a custom field in IAG? The answer is no. We can add custom fields in less than 5 minutes in IAG. The framework is so great. They have structured, and you can add a custom field in less than 5 minutes. Like how you can add a custom field in GRC in less than 10 minutes. In IAG, we can do it in less than 5 minutes. And I'm going to show that in one of my session when I'm dealing with custom fields and functionalities in IAG. Okay. So where IAG can fit in with the GRC access control. So before that, any questions from anyone on this? In any of the topic what we have discussed?
So if at all any customization required can perform in Cloud Foundry, is it?
Yes, through Cloud Foundry or through CAP application programming model, we can perform the customization.
Okay, any language we can use, the JSON
Yes,
or
yes,
Node.js.
yes.
Okay.
Great. So where IAG can fit in with SAP GRC access control. So as I said, you might be knowing, like all these are the place where IAG is already fitting it in access control framework. Service, tell me where and all I can integrate access control with IAG, or how I can use IAG as a bridge to connect to my cloud application. I repeat, how can I use IAG as a bridge to connect? So always like there is a problem that when I speak something, I can't write it correctly. So that's the reason I just went on mute for a second, because the bridge spelling was a bit confusing when I was speaking. So coming back to this, like IAG bridge, or how to use IAG as a bridge for cloud application. So how I can establish this bridge connection between a on-premise GRC application to the cloud application. So that's where I can leverage IAG as a service to carry out all of this item. So now, Sarvesh, I have requirement. I have my customer who has been using GRC since last 15 years. They have done extensive amount of customization in workflows. Their MSMPs are awesome. They have too much of custom fields in their system. They have too much of WebDyn Pro validations, which they have done it in their system. And they don't want to let go all their investments, and they want to continue using that system. At the same time, they recently got Ariba, they recently got SuccessFactor, they recently got SAP Analytics on cloud, and they are looking for a solution to carry out the same thing, leveraging all their existing investments. So they have their existing investments already done in access control. They want to leverage their existing investments. They don't want their end users to again get trained in a new topic, or they don't want to spend time in doing all these customizations in IAG. And in all of this situation, we can use IAG as a bridge, or without letting anyone to log in into IAG, we can get the leverage of provisioning a cloud application via GRC by using IAG as a bridge. So what are all the criteria? Now, I want to carry out a risk analysis of a cloud system sitting in GRC. I can do that by using IAG as a bridge. I want to create a role in my on-premise application with the reference of the roles what I have it in IAG. I can use IAG as a bridge. If I want my access request to be created, I want to create an access request for a cloud application sitting in my GRC system. I can do that here as well. Sarvesh, all this is perfect, fine, good. So now what and all is not possible in IAG bridge? What and all I can't leverage with IAG bridge? So what and all is not possible in IAG bridge? I can't do my PAM or privilege access management sitting in GRC system. I can't create a firefighter request, and I can't expect that request to flow to connector system and to carry out an activity. I can't expect the user access review workflow. I have triggered it in my on-premise GRC system, and that I can't see it in my IAG system. So all these are few items, and of course I can't expect password self-service and all that for in IAG system. So all these are basically the functionalities which is not possible or which is not available at this point of time through or basically make GRC access control to fit with SAP IAG. So any doubts on this?
Yeah, IAG Bridge and IAG are two different subscriptions, isn't it? Or
Absolutely.
services.
Yep. IAG Bridge is IAG. Okay, so since we are speaking about subscription, I really want to cover that topic also. So immediately I will take that topic and then I will come to the rest of the topics. Yes. So just hold me for 5 minutes. You'll get the answer.
Okay.
Yeah, I think one more had a question. Yes, sir. Please.
No, even I have the same question.
Super. Okay, sir. I'm coming there. I'll be there. I'll be answering you. So the IAG comes with two different types of license. So IAG as an application and IAG as a service. So IAG as a service is what they call it as IAG API. So IAG as an application and IAG as a API. Here they call it as instance. So the difference between IAG as an application and IAG as a service. So that's how the license determination happens. In case of IAG as an application, you are basically making an end user to log in into IAG. Please don't get confused between your actual end user and end user. Actual end user is in ever which ways he never logs into GRC. He will not even log in into IAG. He is the one to whom we are creating user and performing all this activity. I am not meaning them. Whom I am meaning them is the access request requester, the person, the internal auditor who is doing a risk analysis, the approver who is coming and carrying out an approval process. All of them is what I am trying to mean it as my end users. So anyone or any company where they want to allow the end users to log in into the IAG system and carry out an activity. So they need to go ahead and they need to subscribe IAG application license and where they need to pay for each user and they need to carry out the activity. So that is how it works. The typical example is now Sarvesh wants to create a user for Siddharth. So then Suresh or like Sham is basically the approver. So then like how it happens is Sarvesh needs to log in into IAG as a requester. Then I need to go ahead and carry out the request for Siddharth. Then Sham will approve my request. So both Sham and Sarvesh user ID should be present in IAG system. And for this, I need to pay for SAP for this. So that is how the application-based licensing works in IAG. So now, like, I don't want Sarvesh and Sham to log in into IAG to carry out user provisioning for Siddharth. In that case, I can leverage my existing on-premise GRC system where Sarvesh has already been trained to create an access request in GRC system. And Sham has already been trained to approve the access request in GRC system. So that way, I no need to log in into IAG itself, but indirectly, I'm using IAG to carry out all this activity. So in that way, I'll be using IAG as a service and not as a system. In that case, the license is considered based on the number of requests which we are trying to create it or number of calls which has been made between IAG to GRC. Through that, the licensing has been calculated. Does it answer both of your question or any doubts in this?
I'm good, Sarvesh.
Yeah, thank you.
So in simple words, IAG as a service means it is based on the call. It is like indirect license way. This is direct license way. That's the main difference between both of this. So now,
So,
please.
sorry, Sarvesh. Yeah.
Please,
So if a customer doesn't have a GRC system existing, so there's an obvious option to go for application instance, right?
Yeah, there is an obvious option to go for an application instance, but assume a situation where people feel that IAG is not that great in like I have given a demo, for example, and then they felt like IAG is not that great for workflows and all. So what I will do is I will create my homegrown ABAP based application in my ECC itself. And I will provide all my approvals and everything. And after that, at the end, I need to call the IAG to carry out an activity. In that case, also they can offer IAG as a bridge.
Got it, got it. I mean, if you can have your customized application on your ABAP platform, then you can use that as
Yes, IAG can still be leveraged as a service. Basically, like
Mhm.
there and all, I don't want to let user to log in into the system. There, I can do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So like the next important thing is I'm planning to take this IAM module for tomorrow's session. The reason is I also need to introduce to BTP, and then I also need to introduce to sub account and all that. And I feel this, if I explain IAM as a first topic and then let it into practical, that will be more appropriate. So I will just try to uh, get on this authorization concept. And I believe too much of theory on a day is also not that efficient. So that's the reason I'll just keep it something reserved for tomorrow as well. So now, like on this authorization concept. So this authorization concept in IAG, it works on the concept of, please understand, this is very, very important. And from today till last day of our IAG session, this is something which you will be keep hearing from me. Kindly pay 200% attention. And I always tell this for all of my trainees, like in each of my session, kindly ask as much as doubts you want. And I am okay to take 2 or 3 more session extra if the timeline does not permits to complete it within the time frame. I don't know what is the exact amount you might have been paid for me or for TechBrains or for anyone who have referred you for this particular session. But what I would like to consider that you have paid 1 lakh rupees for this particular training. So you might have got this training for free, or you might have got this training for reference, or you might have got this training from TechBrains or from my company, or any which ways. You need to think that you are already paid 1 lakh to Sarvesh, and the return of investment what you need to get from this training is 1 lakh. So that is how you need to take this. And from now till rest of the sessions, please do ask. And none of the questions are wrong questions. None of the questions are ignorance question or illogical questions. Everything is logical. And that way, like, please pay 200% attention in all the session. And this will really help, because this is going to be the future, because SAP is promoting SAP cloud applications literally in all the forums. The next week decade is going to be fully on cloud, and they will explain only on cloud. They will ignore on-premise application, because there is no sales required for any on-premise applications of SAP. Where sales is required is cloud. So that way they are going to promote extensively there, and people will be looking for experts on this line. And this training is primarily meant to create those experts. So that's one point I want to tell. So now coming on to the authorization concept. So
Sarvesh, before proceeding further, I have a doubt.
please, sir.
Please let me know what are all the components as part of the IAG.
Mhm.
Like when it comes to the GRC, we have like GRC FND underscore A, right?
Correct.
With the version. So similarly, what kind of components and what kind of version do we need to have as a prerequisite?
Yes. So that is something which I'll be covering in my exact next. My next session is gonna be completely on that only, sir. Like basically, like I'll be covering that as a part of this BTP subscription and IAG subscription, and how you need to subscribe for IAG and so on, because the way the component works in IAG is totally different than that of in GRC. Like how we in GRC, we have two components, GRC FND or GRC FND V version 12.0, and for NetWeaver system, and for 8100 for S/4HANA systems. So those kind of things does not exist, and the present version is 12.2 with SP21. All those things does not exist in IAG, because IAG undergoes for an upgrade every month, and you can't stop IAG upgrade because it is in a public cloud. So meaning you need to undergo IAG upgrade. You can't defer IAG upgrade happening, and that way the version will be always up to date. Everyone in the world will be using the same version. And the next thing is on the component. It does not work on the basis of the component. It works on based on the entitlement and the subscription model in BTP. So that is, again, I'll be covering that extensively in tomorrow's topic. So one important thing what I also want everyone to follow, and this is one more thing which will help us throughout this journey, is the art of learning. In the art of learning, there is one more flavor called as unlearning as well. So whenever I am trying to tell anything in terms of wherever I am telling IAG, please don't compare that directly with GRC access control, because GRC access control is an application which has been developed extensively for SAP. This is an application which has been extensively developed for SAP on-premise application. This is an application which has been developed extensively on ABAP platform. So whereas in case of an IAG, this is a universal framework. This is developed for cloud applications, and please, there is no apple to apple comparison when we make a comparison with both of this. So both of this is meant to solve two different problems. So that way, like, it's two different solutions altogether. That is also one point which I would like to bring.
I got your point, Sarvesh, but
Yes.
what I mean is, I mean, like, in order to avoid the compatibility issues.
Correct.
So
Yes,
that is.
so I'm gonna, yes, I 100% I agree to your point, sir. So for that, like, I'm just gonna I'm gonna suggest the things which we need to take it as a precautionary in on-premise side. For example, I understand your question. Like, it is basically like, I want to carry out a provisioning for my on-premise GRC system, like what Sham has also asked, or like I have GRC system 10.1, whether it supports IAG provisioning, or I can use IAG as a bridge. I have ECC system or R3 system, whether it supports. So that topic definitely, like, we will be discussing in due course of time. Okay.
Sarvesh, one quick question here.
Please.
See, you said where IAG can fit in SAP GRC, you written IAG bridge.
Yes.
ARA is possible, but
ARA is
UAR,
possible. ARA is
UAR
possible. BRM and ARM, all three is possible.
Yeah.
This is not possible.
but UAR is not possible. But UAR is primarily only role approval and ARA, right?
Correct, but UR is not possible in the sense, sitting in GRC, you can't create a user access review for a cloud application. If you want to do a cloud applicational user access review, you need to do only in IAG. That's what I mean, sir.
Oh.
You got my point?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So coming back to our authorization concept, which is very, very important concept, which I would like to start. So the authorization concept in IAG is bit different than that of what we have it in GRC access control. The reason is very simple. IAG underlying has three different components. For IAG to work, it needs three other different components to connect with. And that is exactly what I'm going to tell here. But before that, I will just tell the architecture, or I will just call it as the way how IAG has been structured. So again, I'm going to come back to the same topic on our next week on this. When I'm dealing with day 3, I'll be telling extensively about this. But for now, like, I'm just trying to keep it bare minimum. So just to cover the authorization concept. So the architecture of IAG is, we all know IAG has been developed in Cloud Foundry, and Cloud Foundry is being developed, or it will be hosted in BTP. BTP is a platform on which IAG has been hosted. So we have BTP, and inside BTP only, like, we have IAG application.
But the Cloud Foundry is a platform, but not a language, right?
No, Cloud Foundry is a platform, which is one of the platform which is supported in BTP. So BTP supports multiple platform. It supports Gamma, it supports Cloud Foundry, it supports Neon. All these are different frameworks. And BTP is and of course, like all these are framework or the tools, and BTP supports multiple tools or frameworks like this in the platform.
But what's the language used to develop IAG?
IAG CAP, Cloud Applicational Programming Model.
Okay.
Yeah. So now coming on to the BTP is hosted inside IAG. I mean, IAG is hosted inside BTP. So now IAG can't do everything by itself, because it is, after all, one of the applications in hundreds of applications which has been created in BTP. So it leverages the other applications as well to carry out few activities. Meaning, I can't directly create my IAG users in IAG. Either I need to create it in two places. Either I need to create my user in either in IAM or IAS, or I need to create that users in BTP. Sarvesh, what is it? Now things are getting complicated. So let's decode this. Basically, IAG is one of the applications in hundreds of applications which exist in BTP. So now imagine a situation. Sarvesh is a developer, and he is also a basis consultant. Or Sarvesh is basically a developer, and he is also a GRC specialist. In that case, Sarvesh user should be present in two places. He should be present in Business Application Studio, which is one more application which is meant for development. Sarvesh is also a good UI designer, so he also will have access to SAP Build. So these are all the different BTP applications which are being supported, which are being available in BTP. So now, if I want to have user management, I can't have user management separately for all of these applications. So there is one unified place where I can have my user management, and that is what we call it as identity management. So in summary, the user management for multiple cloud applications in one single place can be done in one framework, and that is what we call it as identity management. And SAP supports multiple identity management solutions for BTP. And one of the solution is what we call it as BTP itself. So within BTP itself, like we have BTP security, where we can carry out all the identity management in through this. So in addition to BTP security, there is one more component called as IAS, or Identity Authentication Services, through which we can carry out an identity management, or we can also do via our IAG, and not directly via IAG from SuccessFactor through HR driven lifecycle management. I'll call it as HR driven identity management. So these are all the three options through which we can carry out a typical identity management / user management in BTP applications, not only for IAG, for any BTP applications also, we can carry out the same way or same model to carry out this entire thing. Sarvesh, what is the difference in all of this? When it comes to BTP security, the user creation or the assignment of these roles happens differently for all of these users. So now, like in sitting in BTP security, like I can go ahead and I can create a role for this application. I can create a role for this application. Sorry, I can assign the roles for this application. I can assign the roles for this application. I can assign the roles for this applications. Then the entire thing will work on this particular model when it comes to BTP security. So now, like, I have a situation where I already have my roles are well defined and my roles are super clear. And whenever I have my Active Directory or I have my Azure AD, whenever I have my user created there, instead of coming into BTP and carrying it out manually, can't I have a placeholder where I already have my roles defined super clear? Like basically Sarvesh has already a role called as application developer, and whenever I say it as an application developer, I should have IAG application, I should have business application, studio application, I should have SAP build application. So all these three applications I should have collectively in that particular role management itself. So in that case, I don't need BTP because I need to manually do it. Rather, I can just use IAS or identity authentication services, which is one of the service which has been supported inside BTP. And through this particular service, we can carry out the entire role creation and user management outside BTP. It can be from IAS or it can be from Azure AD. So that like when we create a user account itself in Azure AD, SAP user accounts also can be created. The only thing or the only disadvantage or difficulty in this process is it does everything else perfectly fine, but what it can't do a risk analysis. And that's where we are coming with the third approach called as HR driven IDM or HR driven identity management, where the success factor has a functionality called as an employment central or employee central. And inside employee central, we have some function called as RBP or role based permissions. Based on the role based permission, we can trigger a HR trigger functionality from success factor to IAG, and from IAG or via IAG, the risk analysis also happens, and subsequently the role assignment happens to all of these applications. So meaning IAG is not only created for the other applications like SuccessFactor, Ariba, Concur, IAG can also be leveraged to carry out the same activity what it does for other systems, even for BTP. So hundreds or thousands of BTP applications also can be provisioned, can be monitored, and can be risk analyzed through IAG as well. So this is also one of the feature what IAG supports. So now coming back to when to use what. So if we want the risk analysis component to be added, then we definitely need IAG. Without that, we can very well live only with IAS. So in simple words, IAS is very equivalent to that of SU01, what we have it in individual connector systems. When we want to have one holistic system with the risk analysis thing added as well, then I need basically the I think this is not a good comparison. I'll say like this. BTP security is like SU01 system, whatever we have in each connector system, and through that we are carrying out the activity. This is a bit cumbersome. IAS is more like CUA, Central User Administration functionality, what we have. I have one system where I want to do the complete user management for all the systems. The biggest problem what I have in this system is it does not have risk analysis capability, our existing CUA functionality. This is something the IAG driven or HR driven HR driven identity management is very similar to that of our access control, where I also have a concept of risk analysis. At the same time, it does the same exact work of what IAS is doing. So that is the comparison, and that is how we need to select in whichever framework which we would like to go. And now, one important point which I also want to cover.
Savesh, can you just clarify what you meant by risk analysis can be done in AD?
Risk analysis can be, no, I mean, risk analysis can't be done in AD. So what we have here is like now I have few roles which is conflicting between both of these two applications, for example. So that is not possible when I have just IAS directly carrying out the user provisioning. So if it happens through GRC, then my approval will get to know. And again, this does not support any approval process. So as soon as I go and connect AD to my IAS and I specify my required roles, what I want, done. So as soon as I click on save button, it goes for user creation process without even looking for any approval. So if I want to have my approval in process, if I want to have my risk analysis, then the only way is through IAG. That's what I mean, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. So now coming back to
Sarvesh, sorry to interrupt. I have a
Yes.
question here.
Please.
So here, can we consider this HR-driven IDM is the widely used opportunity?
Unfortunately, it's not widely used opportunity, because at this point of time, it is supported only for SuccessFactor. And all the customers who are SAP HR, who are SAP customers, all of the customers are not SuccessFactor customers at this point of time. So the widely used at this point of time is this approach, sir, or this approach. This is 90%. This is what is used right now.
BTP security.
5% is used this, and this is hardly 1 or 2%, sir.
Okay.
Because this also needs some good amount of maturity to develop roles and all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any success factor required here? Any of those options?
Yes, success factor is required very much in option number 3.
Number 3. Okay, if we have success factor, then we can implement this one, right?
Yeah, if we have success factor through RBP functionality, we can implement this.
Okay, if success factor is there, most of the people will go like this, or will go for BTP security or IAS.
If success factor is there, most of the people prefer to go with this, sir.
Third option. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sarvesh, and I have a query.
Please.
Let's come back to the initial discussion itself.
Yep.
So it's like what IAG can do. Okay.
Correct.
So let me put my one scenario here. Okay. So there is one scenario where SailPoint is acting as an provisioning service.
Correct.
Okay. So the workflow is configured in such a way that from SailPoint, my birthright access will be triggered. Okay. So it has some risks contained in available in the request. In the business role design itself, it has some risks. Okay. But the provisioning, the workflow is defined in such a way that it will come to GRC. Okay. It will perform risk analysis, trigger back the response to SailPoint, and provisioning will takes place. This is the workflow.
Got it.
Okay. So here, what the scenario is like for the birthright roles, whatever the risks are there. Okay. As it is flowing through GRC, mitigation policy can be applied to mitigate them directly. I can create a separate request type, and that can be consumed in SailPoint triggering service, and it can be done. Similar way, can I achieve here?
No, sir. So the great options what SailPoint offers, the great options what Pathlock offers, the great points what Savient offers, it's not supported in IAG.
Okay. So auto mitigation
answer.
Auto mitigation is not applicable.
No.
Okay.
I mean, all those tools are again primarily developed, or all those tools.
Based.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, primarily like all those tools are like, they're all forefathers of IAG. They're all super matured now. I should put unfortunately that way.
Okay. And what's the possibility in a bridge scenario? So in bridge scenario also.
In bridge scenario, only one thing what you can do is, instead of creating an access request in IAG, you create in GRC. Apart from that, no, nothing is possible.
Nothing. Okay. Okay.
There is no to and fro communication, sir. It is one-way communication only. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. Thank you.
The only good thing is it's like in case of SailPoint, Pathlock, Savient and all, you are using auto or you are using bus so that you can frequently communicate. In case of IAG, it is like flying in aeroplane, because that aeroplane is always premium. Like, why is SAP is premium? So these products and all can do more things, but they are not premium because they don't have that big brand name. Yeah.
Okay.
I have worked in all of this, so I should be honest in my answer, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. That clarifies.
Yeah. Okay, great. So yeah, coming back to this particular point, why I want to say is, when we want to understand authorization concept, we need to understand this identity management prior. So I made a point that IAG users will not be created in IAG. Either IAG users will be created in BTP, or they will be created in IAS, or they might be created in HR-driven identity management. So now consider when they create in BTP, how it works. So the entire concept of BTP is driven by a framework called as role collection. Again, this is the first and the foremost topic which I'm going to speak tomorrow, and I'll be speaking about that extensively. In simple words, BTP works on the concept of what we call it as role collections. Okay. Next, IAS works on the concept of user group. Sarvesh, this is contradicting, Sarvesh. You are telling IAG is developed in BTP and BTP can only understand role collection. Now you are telling IAS is developed in user group. Then how IAG will know that this is the access which needs to be, or this is the role which needs to be provided for this particular user group? To perform this, there is a out-of-box integration which has been provided between BTP and IAS, and that is what we call it as trust setting, or we call that as custom IDP creation. So in this process, which we are going to discuss in tomorrow's session, I'll be showing when you create a BTP user, how the users are getting created. And in my next week, I'll be saying whenever IAS users are created, how those users are created. And in the same day, I'll be telling like how I can automatically create a user in BTP from IAS. So through that, how I can automatically create a IAG user without even logging into BTP from IAS. Unfortunately, I'll be not able to show this particular scenario, HR-driven identity management, because we don't have the lab setup for that. But I'll be sharing some of the documents which might be useful for you to do it. So now that tells me like what are all the different things which we will be learning as a part of this entire activity service, meaning what are all the scenarios which we'll be covering. So for that, I will just tell like what are all the systems which we have, so that we will be covering all this. So the first and the foremost thing what we'll be covering is on-premise, or I will say it IAG to on-premise, meaning we will be covering this topic where I'll be showing IAG to S/4HANA, where sitting in my IAG system, I'll be carrying out a provisioning to on-premise S/4HANA system. In addition to that, I'll be also showing IAG to cloud application. So for this, we will be using a subscription for SAP Analytics on cloud. So I'll be using IAG to S/4HANA on cloud. So the third thing is I'll be also showing IAG bridge. For this, what I'll be using is I'll be using three systems. I'll be using GRC to IAG, and IAG to SAC. So it is like totally we will be having access to 4 different systems to carry out all this process or to learn all this process. The first system we will have access is of course IAG. IAG internally will have BTP, you will get BTP access, you will get IAS access, you will get IPS access. Then you will also have access to SAP Analytics on cloud, which is basically our cloud application. You will also have access to S/4HANA on-premise 2022, which is the recent version which is available. All these applications you will have access. You will have access to all these applications to carry out this, or we will be doing our entire sessions on all of these applications. So that way we are covering IAG to or cloud to on-premise. This first scenario is cloud to on-premise. The second scenario is cloud to cloud. The third scenario is on-premise to cloud. So that way we are establishing 3-level communication, like on-premise to cloud, cloud to on-premise, and then cloud to cloud. So that way, like we will be covering all the possibilities or all the use cases what IAG can support at this point of time without missing any of these use cases. And slowly and gradually, we will start doing that as we proceed further. So any doubts or any questions so far?
Sarvesh will be getting access to GRC also, right?
Absolutely, sir. Yeah,
And
I totally missed that. The reason is my system S4HANA 2022, it has both S4HANA 2022 and it also had GRC. So indirectly, you'll be getting 3 system access, but inside that, you will also have GRC access.
okay, and so this GRC access will be a separate client configured for individual user,
So
or
same,
it's
sir.
common?
It will be the same because GRC, we will be going to GRC only for one particular topic, that is for IAG bridge scenario. So we have somewhere here IAG bridge scenario, and
Yeah.
for IAG bridge scenario only, like we'll be using GRC, and GRC configuration is very, very minimum when it comes to IAG integration, sir.
Okay.
Okay, this connecting to this data analytics, right? Something
Yes,
like
sir.
that
Yes,
is
sir.
same as success factor and Ariba, right? Same.
No. Success factor and Ariba is very easy, sir.
Very easy,
BTP to
okay.
success factor Ariba, it is very easy, but connecting why, and that's the reason I don't want to show that, because it's a matter of few minutes to connect a success factor with BTP, because you don't need much thing over there. In
Okay.
case of other systems apart from success factor and Ariba version 1, you need to do something called as IPS proxy, where you need to create your source transformation, then read and write transformation and all you need to do, which you no need to do for success factor and Ariba. So that's the reason I want to take this particular scenario called as IPS proxy scenario, which is what I'll be showing it for in SAP Analytics on Cloud, but the same logic is applicable for all the systems what you want to connect apart from success factor and Ariba.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You just need to follow the same process. So that way, like I'm covering one, but all other systems, it will follow the same process.
Okay.
Awesome. So I think like I would like to have a logical end over here. Tomorrow we will start with introduction to IAM, and more importantly, we'll start with our practical session. And have a good rest of the day if there is no questions from anyone, and we'll catch up exactly tomorrow at 8 a.m. Thank you. And I'll be asking Suresh to share the Google Drive details to all of you guys, or I will also share it in the WhatsApp group. And if you are, if you would like, or if you would wish to see this, you can just have a look. This is my company. Like I am the founder and CEO of this company, and I keep writing lots of blogs on this page, this blog page. It speaks about most of the things, whatever we are gonna see, I would have written in this particular blog section. So I speak a lot about IAG. I speak a lot about GRC in this, and I am also available in LinkedIn. I will share my LinkedIn detail as well. So I'm available in LinkedIn as well. So again, in LinkedIn, I'll be speaking a lot about IAG as well as GRC and SAP cybersecurity as a whole. So this is my LinkedIn page. I would also message it in WhatsApp, and if it's possible, if you are interested, so you can follow me in LinkedIn, and definitely like I'll post all of my article, whatever I'm posting it in WhatsApp or anywhere. It will also be posted it in my LinkedIn page as well. And every Monday and Wednesday, I'll be posting an article about SAP cybersecurity and about SAP GRC, and on any recent things happening on SAP in this LinkedIn post as well. Okay, so that's all I had for today, and have a good rest of.
Sarvesh, yes. Sarvesh, I missed 2 sessions last week. So,
You did not miss anything, sir. This is like kind of first session only. So all other
okay.
sessions were more of an introductory. So this is actual session which started. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Great. Okay then. Awesome. Have a good rest of the day, everyone. Take care. See you tomorrow.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Same to you. Thank you. Bye.